It is a judgment that Donald Trump, having asked us to do something, that even you, Mehdi, says is probably maybe just likely to make us safer, that it's happened as a result of Donald
Hasn't happened.
Trump.
That's the whole point.
Okay.
It hasn't happened.
Mehdi,
All
you said
NATO
you want to have
members-
your cake and
Hold
eat
on,
it.
NATO
Now
as a
you are
whole-
eating your
Well,
own words,
Michael,
not a
NATO as a-
cake.
Well, first of all, let's go on words. NATO has not, as a whole, reached 5%, as you well know. That people have made pledges and promises. You're a politician. You know you lie. You politicians, not you personally. But you personally, by the way, you personally did just lie and said that I acknowledge Iran's nuclear weapons program. The very opposite.
In this video, Mehdi Hasan silences Michael Gove over this heated live debate stage. So Michael Gove tries to defend Trump's so-called safety wins, then just accuses Mehdi of contradicting himself. But Mehdi fires back fast, calling out Gove's blatant lie about Iran, and lays down the facts with zero hesitation. So make sure to watch to the end to see how Mehdi Hasan silences Michael Gove over this heated live debate stage.
Everyone heard me quote the US Director of National Intelligence who said they were not building nuclear weapons. You can keep saying Iraq
What
war
were they
style,
enriching
that
the
they were having
uranium for?
WMDs. You tell me.
No. In what world do you imagine they're
For
enriching
a negotiating posture. They were trying to get back in a deal. You know there was a deal. You know there was a
But
negotiation.
if it's not going to be a weapon,
Michael,
how can you use it to negotiate?
Michael,
Why were they enriching it? Was
Michael,
this a chemistry set?
Yes,
Was this
hold on,
some
Michael,
random scientific
Well, I
curiosity?
can answer your
of
question
course
if you let me
they're
speak.
enriching it because they want to
Okay.
create
All right,
missiles.
let
and the
Mehdi
reason
answer.
that they have all these rockets
Okay.
aimed at Israel is because they wanted to destroy Israel.
Even though Israel's a country that just
a
bombed Iran.
country
But okay.
bent on genocide
Let's see.
is staring you
So-
in the face.
So hold on.
From
Can I speak?
Iran,
Is a speech
and
Okay,
you
Mi-
refuse
Is this
to
another
acknowledge
speech
it.
or do we get to
Michael,
respond?
Michael, let
All right,
Mehdi
so
respond.
a lot there in that little mini speech that you got before you left. Let me ask you this, very quickly. Every intelligence agency in the world says Iran was not building nuclear weapons, including the British intelligence, including US intelligence, including German intelligence. They all said there were no nuclear weapons programs. The IEA said it wasn't a nuclear weapons program. Iran, I can answer your great line about chemistry set. Iran calls itself a nuclear threshold state. It's very open about the fact that it is enriching nuclear energy for a program, but that they have the option to go for a bomb. The point Tulsi Gabbard made, and every predecessor says, is that they weren't going for a bomb. They were engaged in negotiations in Muscat, Oman with Trump. The irony is, if Trump had gotten that deal with Iran, I'd be on your side of the table. He decided to blow up that deal, undermine it. You have spent 45 minutes avoiding the fact that William Hague, the former foreign secretary, your former leader, has said what I'm saying, which is that they're more likely to go for a weapon now because we bombed them, blew up the IEA negotiations. You don't want to address that, probably because it's easier to call me an Iranian stooge rather than William Hague. I wonder why. We can speculate as to why,
Okay.
to borrow a line. And I'm sorry,
Well,
you keep quoting NATO. No, you get a very long answer. You keep quoting NATO.
Yeah.
The IAEA was right about Iraq. You were wrong. They're right about Iran. You are wrong.
Michael.
Simply saying I am right and you are wrong.
You quoted Mark Rutte, a guy who sends sycophantic texts to Trump. I'm quoting the
Hang on,
IAEA.
let
I
Michael
absolutely
answer.
stand by that. I'm
course you do,
not
because
going
you've
to
got
say
nothing
you're
else.
wrong. I'm going to invite people to draw certain
What about William
conclusions.
Hague?
Hang on.
I disagree with William on this.
But why? Why do you think he said what he said?
I don't know. Sometimes people of goodwill can disagree. But what I do know is that you don't enrich uranium as a hobby.
So Gove leans hard into this whole why would Iran enrich uranium if not for a bomb argument, like that's some mic drop moment. But Mehdi just isn't having it. He just straight up demolishes it by quoting US, British, and German intelligence, all of which clearly stated Iran wasn't building nuclear weapons. And to make it even more airtight, he cites the IAEA too. Like Gove throws out a dramatic line about chemistry sets, and Mehdi just hits back with literal global intel agencies. Not really a fair fight, is it? And what really exposes Gove is when Mehdi brings up William Hague, Gove's own party leader, a former foreign secretary who agrees that Iran is now more likely to pursue a weapon because of what Western powers did, not in spite of it. Gove's response though, he just shrugs it off with, well, people of goodwill can agree. That's it. That's the whole rebuttal he has. He can't even explain why Hague did it, because doing so would just mean admitting Mehdi's right. And when Mehdi points out that Iran was literally sitting down for negotiations with Trump in Oman before the deal got blown up, Gove just ignores it. He'd rather toss around labels than address how diplomacy actually collapses under Trump's watch.
It's not like
why did
growing,
US intelligence
it's
say
not
they're not
like
building a
growing
weapon?
geraniums
No,
on
hold on.
nasturtiums.
Why did US intelligence say they're not building a weapon?
Also,
why were they coming to Muscat?
You don't pay for Hamas to launch an attack. You don't support Hezbollah in its murderous attempts to kill people in Israel and worldwide. You don't subsidize the Houthis in trying to destroy world trade because you are actually a peace-loving people. You don't have your supreme leader say that their mission is to destroy Israel forever.
Hold on, you said
if you are merely acquiring this uranium
Only 30 seconds. I want to take some more
of
questions.
disinterested scientific
I just find it a bit
curiosity. What I find curious is that you have all this uranium in front of you. And Mehdi merely says, oh, it's a diplomatic tool.
You've said the G word plenty of times.
Very briefly. Come on, Mehdi.
You wrote an op-ed last year saying the Israeli military should be given a Nobel Peace Prize. A military that killed 6 kids lining up for water yesterday, killed 9 kids lining up for nutritional supplements last Thursday. A military that's being investigated at the ICJ for genocide and at the ICC for war crimes. So it's a bit rich for you to lecture anyone else on human rights or war crimes when you're supporting a genocide in Gaza.
I want to take some more questions.
I merely wish to say that, for the avoidance of doubt, and I don't think there is any, Israel is not carrying out a
Most genocide scholars disagree with you. Most genocide scholars disagree with you, Michael. The people who study genocide disagree with you.
That is a very big statement, and I want to discuss it.
Let me state it again, for the avoidance of any doubt.
Okay, we've heard you say it. It's a really big point.
I want to condemn the killing of 6 kids yesterday lining up for water by the Israeli military.
I condemn the loss of all innocent
all lives matter. He can't do it. He can't condemn the Israeli military.
I want to take a couple more questions, Michael.
I think
just wait.
It is the right of the Israeli Defense Force to defend
to kill 6
the
kids.
only democracy.
To kill 6 kids lining up for water.
Can we take a couple of questions, and we're going to, I promise, come back to this. We have to. A couple of questions up there.
So I'm sorry to change gear and move away from Israel-Gaza, but it's a question about, it's probably a question to Michael, which is, were you tempted to take the approach with this question that the US, before Trump, was kind of focused towards a kind of alliance-based, us against them, two poles world, and actually the Trump world is a bit more transactional and a bit more ambiguous, and it's much less clear if there was a nuclear war, who would be on the two sides, and perhaps that might be a safer place.
Okay, and there's a hand up just there, upstairs, to your right, to your, I can't do this, yes, there.
Mr. Gove, may I ask how you exactly define terrorism, and do you think that according to definition that you're going to give, one kind is worse than the other depending on who carries it out?
Okay, so let's go with the first question first, which is this idea of has this presidency moved away from the government of alliances and allies to a more transactional way of doing things, which actually has perhaps made the world a less safe place. Would you accept that as a thesis, Michael?
I think it is the case that Donald Trump places less faith and confidence in some of the post-war multilateral organizations than some of his predecessors.
So this where the whole debate just flips from shaky to just straight up damning for Gove. Mehdi corners him with a brutal list of facts. Israel killed 6 kids lining up for water, 9 more waiting for food. And instead of addressing that reality, Gove just falls back on the most tired dodge possible. I condemn the loss of all life. And Mehdi just jumps on it instantly. Because yeah, that's the same all lives matter playbook, used to avoid any specific accountability. Gove just simply can't bring himself to condemn the Israeli military by name, even when it's about dead kids with no weapons in sight. And when Mehdi calls him out directly on it, mentioning how actual genocide scholars would disagree with Gove, he just still dodges. No evidence, no counter. It's weak. And Mehdi even just asks point blank, can you condemn those killings? And Gove just won't do it.
I don't myself altogether think that that is necessarily a good thing. But I think that it's important, and this is the reason why I chose to participate in this debate, to seek to look at the Trump presidency in the round. It is very easy to find a million and one reasons to dislike Trump. But what it's important for all of us to do is to look clear-eyed at all of his actions in the round. And I don't say with enthusiasm or with a light heart that the world is safer, because some of the things that Trump has done challenge some of my own preconceptions. But I have, I hope, the ability to recognize that even as I disapprove of some of his starting points, I can also look at the effect of some of his actions, and that I have the humility to be able to acknowledge that actually the net effect of those actions is to make the world a safer place than it was under his predecessor, President Biden, and than under most, though not all, Democrat presidents who preceded him.
And that question of terrorism, and then I will come back to genocide.
Again, we could spend forever debating terrorism. On the whole, I take the unconventional view that it's a bad thing. But again, behind that question, there may lie other questions which I'm sure we might explore.
Fair enough. I want to come back, Mehdi, you can come back to that, or I'd like to come back to this conversation that we began. I'm keen to get more questions in, but I would like to come back to this question of genocide. It's clearly one that is very important to this audience. Michael was very clear. He doesn't think what's happening in Gaza is a genocide. You said, I think genocide experts disagree with you. What would be your main line of, how would you counter his statement?
I would say, have you been asleep since October 2023 as we've watched on social media the extermination of a people, the ethnic cleansing of a people, the killing of a people? If you have to only listen to Israeli politicians say the most outrageous things about burning down Gaza, about Amalek, about all of the people being responsible. Bezalel Smotrich, the finance minister of Israel, said recently, we are conquering, cleansing, and remaining in Gaza. It will be totally destroyed. We are disassembling Gaza. We'll leave it in ruins without any global precedent. That's the kind of stuff that Michael's come to defend tonight. And look, some of the leading Israeli Holocaust scholars, Michael, Omar Botov of Brown, Amos Goldberg at the Hebrew University, Raz Siegel, Dr. Shmuel Liederman here in the UK, Israeli Holocaust scholars have come out and said, we didn't think this at the beginning, but we do now think it meets the definition of genocide, what is going on there. And even if you don't want to call it a genocide, Ehud Olmert, on the front page of today's Guardian, former right-wing Prime Minister of Israel, says the plan to concentrate everyone in one place is a concentration camp, his words, not mine, and it would be ethnic cleansing, his words, not mine. So I think at this point, I think it's insane to still be saying Israel has a right to defend itself when they are killing and ethnic cleansing. I mean, the problem, just one last point. The problem for people like Michael, and I debate a lot of people in the West defending Israel, the problem for people like Michael is they make this very, I want to say, good faith defense of Israel, its right to defend itself, but then you just have to listen to what Israeli politicians are saying, and they are throwing Michael under the bus. Like, no, we do want to kill everyone. We do want to get rid of everyone. We do want to conquer Gaza. This isn't about self-defense. Just listen to what Israeli politicians and ministers themselves are saying. Listen to Israel Katz, listen to Bezalel Smotrich, listen to Ben Gvir, listen to Netanyahu. It's on the record.
So yeah, while Gove tries to sound thoughtful, framing Trump's actions as reluctantly effective, he just gets absolutely buried once Mehdi starts laying out what's actually happened in Gaza. We're not talking fringe sources here. Mehdi's quoting Holocaust scholars, Israeli officials, and even a former right-wing Israeli prime minister who called the current policy ethnic cleansing. And Gove's entire response, just denial. No counter-evidence. No rebuttal to what Israeli ministers themselves are saying, just vibes and deflections. And at the end of the day, Mehdi brought facts, sources, and voices from inside Israel. Gove just brought excuses and dodges. The moment he couldn't even condemn the murder of children lining up for water, the debate was already over and his bias clearly showed. And speaking of bias...
Are you getting tired of getting news from biased news sources? One outlet says one thing and another says the complete opposite? How are you supposed to know what's actually true? That's where ground news comes in. It lets you compare how different media outlets, whether it's left, right, or center, are covering the same story. So you can see the full picture instead of just the echo chamber. And here's the best part. Click the link in the description and get a 40% off the Vantage tier, which gives you even deeper insights in media bias and political trends. So stay informed, think for yourself, and check out ground news in the description down below.